like I already mentioned, this topic could not have fallen at a better time. And I picked this topic really thinking more about moving and that curveball. Now, I am thankful that our moving timeline was kind of set and picked before I really set annual goals. So I got to set my goals with the knowledge of moving. But what I wanted to talk about in this video is what to do when something changes in your life and you've already set goals, what to do about it. Now, it's almost as if the universe was like, oh, well, you picked this topic, and I think you need to experience something to be able to speak to it more. So like I mentioned in the calendar section, we are taking an impromptu trip next weekend. There's something going on in our family. And so we are going to be out of town, and Sam is also going to be out of town a little bit more around that as well. And it's not my story, my situation to share. I'm just sharing how it impacts our family, and this is how it impacts us. So Sam will be gone this weekend. Like, we're moving and then Sam's leaving, and then we will all be gone next weekend, and then Sam is staying even longer. And so that is a huge pivot. Like, that is not how I anticipated February looking. And it is just the time, the reminder, and this is from a Greek philosopher, that the only constant is change. Change is always happening. Literally, things are always changing. And I feel like I say this a lot when it comes to, like, your routines will change and your goals will change. And so we accommodate for some of that with our regular goal refreshes, right? There's a reason we check in with our goals regularly. We check in with them weekly for some planners. Personally, I don't change my goals on a weekly basis. I do obviously check in with them, and we do that in the coaching call. But for some planners, you can change your goals on a weekly basis, but at a minimum, I encourage you to check in and refresh, if needed, monthly, quarterly, and annually, because life changes and it happens. But what about the changes that you weren't expecting? What about the changes that show up in the middle of the month? What about the changes that come after you've already planned everything? What about the changes that you don't want to have to deal with? What about the changes that are throwing a wrench in plans that you already made? Well, it happens, right? Like, that's a thing. It's going to happen. And whether it happens on a big, giant scale, whether it happens on a small scale, it doesn't matter. It's still going to impact your life and your goals. So instead of being shocked or scared or unsure, I mean, insert any word, however you feel. It could even be excited. It could be positive, right? Let's say you're in the middle of a month and you find out that you're pregnant, right? That could be a positive change, but it's still going to impact your goals. So instead of letting that change come and show up and just letting go of everything else, like saying, okay, well, you know what? These goals that I set and these action steps that I picked, they no longer work. So I'm just going to not do goals. Instead of letting that happen, let's have a plan. Let's have a system, something that we do when that change occurs. So in true PowerPoint girl fashion, okay, it's not really an extreme PowerPoint. It's a little slides. I created a flow chart. And so when something changes, and again, this isn't just big, giant changes. It could be as simple as one small thing. I don't have a good example off the top of my head. Any change can result in this flow chart. It's not super complicated, and it hopefully doesn't take you that long. In fact, I don't want it to take you that long because I don't want you to overthink it. Everything on this flow chart is yes or no. And I don't want you to sit there and make a pro-con list. I'm talking to myself at this point too, right? I don't want you to overthink it and pick apart every little thing. No, we don't have time for that, right? We've got to deal with the change. We've got to pivot, and we've got to jump right back in to whatever it is we are focusing on now. And so what I want you to do is, for each of your goals, you're going to go through this flowchart. And I picked this topic in December. I wrote the outline the first week of January. And here we are on January 29th, and I literally had to do this 2 days ago, for my own goals. I had to go through each of my own goals and apply this. Now, I didn't include this. There's not a pop-up, but I just want to say this really quick. Maybe I should keep talking before I pop up the slides. Do this on whatever time frame makes sense for you and your life and your goals based on what you know about the change. So for going back to the pregnancy example, right? That's a long-term change. Like 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 forever. Like the rest of your life long. Um if it is a pregnancy that you want. So I would do this process for your annual goals, right? Like the longest term that you have. If it is something that you know is going to impact you for a couple of months, or you think it could impact for a couple of months, do it at a quarterly level. And then if you think it is something that is temporary, that it's just going to be a temporary impact, or, and this is my situation, you don't know what the impact is going to look like in the next quarter, month, whatever, then just do it for the next month. And so that's what I did. I was like, this is something that definitely potentially could impact the rest of Q1 and the annual goals and beyond. But I don't know that for sure right now. I don't know. I don't have that information. All I know is how it's impacting my life and my family right now in the next couple of weeks, frankly. So I'm going to go through my February goals and I'm going to go through this little flow chart. So, okay, let's go back. Let's pop it back up. So question 1 is, does this change directly impact your goals? What I mean by directly impact, you have a goal to lose weight and you find out you're pregnant, right? That is a direct impact to your goals. You have a goal to declutter your current house and you find out that you're moving, right? That is a direct impact. So again, don't overthink it. This is gut feeling, yes or no. If the answer is yes, then you need to go through the goal defining process again, which is a video that I have done a number of times. I will leave it linked down below, but I want you to go through that whole process again. And I feel like I'm saying this a lot. I don't want you to spend hours and hours on this. This isn't like this is something that you're going to like sit down and have to map out. This is going to be like a quick, you're making these decisions, you're answering questions, and you're getting through this as quickly as you possibly can in order to be able to keep moving forward. Because I don't want you to lose that goal momentum. And again, I'm talking to myself right now. So if the change directly impacts your goals, go through the process again of defining that goal. And then you're going to have to break it down again, because once you've redefined it, you're going to have to break it down. Now, some of those action steps might still carry over, but some of them will not. Some of them you may just have to reprioritize. For example, right, my goal in February was to finish unpacking. Okay. With Sam being gone for pretty much the whole first half of the month, and Lila and I being gone for a chunk of that as well. Like we're not going to finish unpacking our house in February, and that's fine. Right. So then for me, it wasn't necessarily redefining this goal, but this is a change that directly impacted our goals, right? Us being gone directly impacts the ability to unpack. So I just reprioritized. And I was like, okay, what's the most important things? What are the most important rooms that we get settled in? What are the most important steps to getting ourselves unpacked? And it wasn't really breaking it down again so much as just reprioritizing. But let's go back to that example of, let's say you had a goal to lose weight and then you got pregnant. That change directly impacts your goals. So going through the process of defining the goal again, well, what does that health and physical health goal look like now? Go through the process and then break it down. What are the steps? Some of the steps may stay similar, right? You may still be trying to prioritize steps. You may still be trying to prioritize water, but it's probably going to look a little bit different. Now, what if you're like, okay, but the change doesn't directly impact my goals, right? So us being out of town doesn't really, I'm not sure how I was going to do this video without such a great example. It's such a personal example, but let's say the answer is no, it doesn't directly impact your goals. So my health goal, like us being gone, doesn't directly impact my health goals. The question is then, does it impact the resources towards your goal? And if you've never heard me talk about goal resources, there are a number of different resources that impact your goals. Time is the biggest one that we talk about, and that one is obviously a huge factor. Energy is a really big one that I try to talk about more, because I don't think, especially those of us who have hormonal shifts throughout the month, your energy levels drastically change. And so depending on what's going on, how is this going to impact the resources that you have towards that goal? Finances is another big resource. Help from others is another big resource, which is kind of unpacking falls into this as well, right? My being at home and my help from Sam is suddenly basically gone. So thinking about what are the resources that it impacts. And again, I've been giving the moving example, but I went through this for every goal. So let's talk about my physical health goal. So the next question is this goal something I still want to prioritize right now? Is this something that's still important to me? And this question in particular, I need you to be your best friend. Don't think about this as like what I should be doing or what's the this is like, is it something really, I shouldn't have even said want to prioritize, like something you need to prioritize, because depending on what the change is, you're potentially going to have to let things go. So now if the answer is yes, because I did all the yeses at the top, this isn't maybe necessarily the order I would have gone in, but I wanted to make it easy with like yeses on top. So then if it's something you still want to prioritize, what do you need to change? What do you need to adjust? What do you need to do? And so for me with working out, because we're going to be gone for part of it and because Sam's not going to be around, I need to lower that goal. I was doing this strength program on the Peloton that was 20 to 30 minute strengths 3 days a week, which doesn't sound like that much. And some of you probably work out way more than that and it works. And that's awesome. For me, that was already pushing myself and I needed to shrink it. I needed to make it smaller and I needed to make it more manageable. And I needed to make some of it able to do on the go. And so I immediately was like, I'm not worrying about that anymore. I'm going back to 10 minutes and I'm doing no equipment, right? 10 minutes, body strength, no, body weight only. And that's what I'm focusing on, right? So that was just adjustment. Now, the good news is all I wrote down on my February sheet was workout. So all I have to do is I don't need to change anything about that from what I've written down. But, and I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit on my February goals, I did have a one-time step of finishing that program. That's not going to happen. I'm just going to cross that off and I'm going to let it go. And this is where I tell you that it's okay to let things go, right? If it is, sorry, there's like a piece of tape on my desk and it's driving me bonkers. If your resources are severely limited, there might be things that you have to let go of, right? There might be things that you need to just put on pause. And we talked a lot about pause last week, right? That was an option when life is chaotic, that putting our goals on pause is okay. It's not quitting. It's not letting go. It's not giving up. It's not failing. It's pause. And maybe your goals need to go on pause. And you just take that idea and you go put it somewhere else. And that's okay. There's a couple things on my list for February that I'm just going to cross off. And it's not a big deal. I'm just going to let it go. Again, some of them I kept and I made them smaller. Some of them, and I guess unpacking, I essentially made smaller. I went from finish unpacking to like unpack a certain amount. In fact, maybe I could set like a specific goal, right? By the end of tonight, I'm going to know exactly how many boxes we have. I think we're at 60 something right now. And I could say like maybe my goal for February is to get through 50% of the boxes or something along those lines. And that could be me making the goal smaller. And then there are some steps that I'm just going to cross right off. And I'm just going to say, one of them was doing a fire. I really wanted to light a fire in our new wood fire place, but that is just not a priority, right? Getting firewood, figuring out how to work the thing, but like, it's not a priority. So I'm not going to worry about it. And that's okay. I'm going to keep that on my idea list, although it's probably not going to actually end up coming until maybe like November, whenever it gets cold. But it is okay to let go of goals. You know that. I tell you that all the time. Okay, so now what if you say that the change doesn't impact your goals and it doesn't impact your resources towards the goals? Well, then you can just leave it the same, right? We don't need to overthink things. Maybe something changed in your life, but that goal gets to stay exactly the same. So I kind of think about my creative goal like this. Now, yes, the resources are technically limited because I'm losing a little bit of time, but my creative goal, I can do anywhere. I literally packed up my coloring books and took them with me to the Bahamas. I can do that pretty much anywhere. And so I'm going to keep that goal the same. I'm not going to adjust it even. And I did increase it in February. I increased it to 45 minutes. And when I thought about it, that's like 6.5 minutes a day ish. It's not perfect math, but you understand. Don't come at me. Don't come at my math degree anyway. Um, so that is very reasonable, right? That is something I can still prioritize in February, and it is something I still want to prioritize, but I'm not going to change anything about it because really the resources aren't impacted. So hopefully this little chart, you can take your screenshot here and save this for you so that you have this when you have something that changes. And again, the change could be big, the change could be small, the change could come in the middle of the month, in the middle of the year. You could do this for whatever time frame makes sense for you. And truthfully, I'm probably going to have to, at the end of February, assess my quarterly goals at that point through this same lens, knowing what I know then, and then make a decision from there before I kind of set my March action steps. But for now, I'm just worrying about February, and I'm just adjusting what I need to in the month of February, and I'm going to go from there.